since Russia invaded Ukraine. And President Biden spent the day in Brussels meeting with NATO and G7 allies for emergency sessions on Russia's brutal war against Ukraine. Now, leaders of the 30-member NATO alliance and the G7 also heard directly via video from Ukrainian President Zelensky, who repeated requests for continued and increased security assistance from the West. Joining me now to talk about this is Congressman Mike Waltz, a member of the House Armed Services Committee, a decorated Special Forces officer. He serves the 6th Congressional District of the Sunshine State. He joins us by phone. Congressman, welcome back to the program.
Hey, good to be with you, Tony. Thanks.
So let me just start with this. What are your thoughts thus far on what has come out of the president's trip to Europe?
You know, Tony, I'd give it mixed. We certainly welcome the additional sanctions. I'm glad he's there. And President Zelensky in his speech to Congress really challenged Biden to step up to be the leader of the free world. But I wanted to see more. I wanted to see a Marshall Plan for American energy, along with a strategy for Europe to get off of Russian energy. I wanted to see renewed demands from the United States that the Europeans step up their own defense spending and stop relying on the American taxpayer to subsidize their own defense. I think we saw a lot from all of the European nations in terms of support for Zelensky and the Ukrainian resistance, but they need to move that lethal aid faster and send more of it. And I would have liked to have seen a stronger stand in terms of red lines when it comes to the weapons of mass destruction and when it comes to possible Chinese support of Russia with military aid. So I'd give it a C.
I want to go to a clip during the press conference that he had after his meeting today. President Biden was asked whether he emboldened Vladimir Putin by ruling out military intervention too quickly. I want to play that exchange between an ABC reporter and President Biden. Play that clip, please.
You've made it very clear in this conflict that you do not want to see World War III. But is it possible that in expressing that so early that you were too quick to rule out direct military intervention in this war? Could Putin have been emboldened knowing that you are not going to get involved directly in this conflict?
No and no.
Your response, Congressman?
Yes and yes, Tony. And it's actually refreshing to see some tough questions from mainstream media of this White House. But look, no one wants World War III, but Putin does not want World War III. He knows he faces the United States military, he loses. But what Biden has done, one, he undercut his own diplomacy by pulling hard power off the table. It's kind of like, maybe a security guard at a bank going up to the potential robbers and saying, please don't rob this bank, but I want to let you know I left my gun. So that's one piece, right? But the other piece is by continuing to let fear of escalation drive his foreign policy, he's actually emboldened Putin, and Putin will continue to escalate. He's going to push until he meets steel, and we need to make those red lines very clear.
Let me talk for a moment about what's happening on the ground in Ukraine. We're a month into this, and Vladimir Putin thought he would roll right through Ukraine, but the resistance has been remarkable. But there has been some preparations. The U.S. Army's Green Berets have been quietly helping over the last several years prepare Ukrainian forces for something just like this. Tell us about it.
Well, Green Berets specialize in training foreign militaries around the world. And after the first invasion in 2014, both our special forces and even the National Guard, the Florida National Guard, began training the Ukrainians at various levels. Clearly, that training is paying off. Under the Trump administration, we finally began giving the Ukrainians lethal aid. Remember, infamously, Obama threw blankets at the problem after after Ukraine was invaded the first time, but Trump gave lethal aid. We began training them on it. We also began training them on how to conduct a partisan resistance, how to gather groups of civilians to fight for themselves, to frustrate a potential invader, how to conduct urban warfare, which we're seeing now in the cities. But still, I don't think, rolling into this administration over the last year, we gave the Ukrainians truly what they needed to fight until it was too late. They were begging practically last year when I was out there on a visit for stingers. The Biden White House said no, it was too provocative of Putin. They were begging for anti-ship missiles to defend their ports. That was also stamped as too provocative. And again, this kind of passive, back-footed approach from the Biden administration is what I believe was part of what made Putin think he could get away with this so easily.
Congressman, we only have about 30 seconds left, but you mentioned civilians. Reports that Moscow is forcibly taking civilians from Ukraine back to Russia. Any validity to those reports?
I've asked for a briefing on that. I'll look forward to getting more classified briefings next week. I've seen that same reporting, and under the Geneva Convention, under the Charter of the International Criminal Courts, that is a war crime. Forcible relocations of civilians is a war crime. I was pleased to see the administration label what Putin is doing formally as war crimes, but what they need to do as a next step is start naming individual generals, because you want to sow doubt in those generals' minds that they'll be able to get away with it.
Absolutely. That is absolutely the case. Congressman Mike Waltz, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for stepping out to talk with us this afternoon.
Okay, thanks so much, Tony.
All right.